You know, I've spent over 7 decades studying money. Not just making it, but understanding it. And I'll tell you something that might surprise you. Getting rich has very little to do with how much you earn. It has everything to do with what you don't buy. Most people work their entire lives, earn millions of dollars over their careers, and end up with almost nothing to show for it. Meanwhile, others earning far less build substantial wealth. The difference? 5 things. 5 categories of purchases that quietly drain wealth from your life, year after year, without you even noticing. Today, I want to share with you, inspired by Warren Buffett's principles of value and discipline, the 5 things you must stop buying if you truly want to build lasting wealth. These aren't just tips. These are foundational principles that separate those who build financial freedom from those who spend their lives working for money instead of having money work for them. Let's begin. The first thing you must stop buying is what I call depreciating lifestyle upgrades. And this is the biggest wealth killer I've seen in my lifetime. Here's what I mean. You get a raise at work. Maybe your salary goes from $50,000 to $60,000 a year. That's a 20% increase. Wonderful. But what happens next? Within a few months, your lifestyle expands to match it. You move to a nicer apartment with higher rent. You lease a newer car with a bigger payment. You start eating out more often. You upgrade your wardrobe. And suddenly, that $10,000 raise is completely absorbed by new expenses. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it's one of the most insidious obstacles to building wealth. Inspired by Warren Buffett's own life, consider this. He still lives in the same house he bought in Omaha in 1958 for $31,500. Not because he can't afford better. He's one of the wealthiest people on earth. But because that house serves its purpose. It's comfortable, functional, and doesn't require him to work harder just to maintain it. Now, I'm not saying you should never improve your quality of life. What I'm saying is this: when your income increases, your savings rate should increase faster than your spending. If you get a 20% raise, try living as though you only got a 5% raise, and save the other 15%. That's how wealth compounds. Let me show you the math, because numbers don't lie. Imagine 2 people. Both start earning $50,000 a year at age 25. Person A increases their spending every time they get a raise. Person B keeps their lifestyle relatively stable and invests the difference. Person A goes from saving $5,000 a year to saving $6,000, then $7,000, always just a small percentage of their growing income. Person B, on the other hand, starts saving $5,000, but when they get raises, they save $10,000, then $15,000, then $20,000 annually. By age 65, assuming a modest 7% annual return, Person B has accumulated over $2 million more than Person A, same starting salary. Same raises. Dramatically different outcomes. All because of spending discipline. The point is simple: every dollar you spend on upgrading your lifestyle is a dollar that can't compound for you. And compounding, as I've said many times, inspired by Buffett's teachings, is the 8th wonder of the world. You either make it work for you, or you work for it your entire life. So ask yourself, do you really need the luxury car, or would a reliable used vehicle do the job? Do you need the penthouse apartment, or could you be just as happy in something more modest? Every unnecessary upgrade you avoid is capital you can deploy into assets that appreciate, not liabilities that depreciate. The second thing you must stop buying is high-interest debt to finance consumption. And let me be blunt, credit card debt used to buy things you don't need is financial suicide. Inspired by Warren Buffett's wisdom, he once said that if you buy things you don't need, you'll soon have to sell things you do need. That's not just clever. It's a warning. Here's how this trap works. You see something you want. Maybe it's a new television, a vacation, a piece of furniture. You don't have the cash, so you put it on a credit card. You tell yourself you'll pay it off soon. But then life happens. Other expenses come up. You make the minimum payment. And that purchase, which cost you $1,000, ends up costing you $1,500 or $2,000 by the time you pay it off, if you ever pay it off. Credit card companies charge interest rates of 15, 20, sometimes 25% or higher. Let that sink in. If you're carrying a balance and paying 20% interest, you're losing money faster than almost any investment can make it back for you. Now contrast that with how wealth is built. The stock market historically returns about 10% annually over the long term. Bonds might give you 3 to 5%. Real estate, maybe 8 to 10% with appreciation and rental income. But credit card debt costs you 20% or more. You're running uphill in a windstorm. You can't win. Let me give you a simple example. Suppose you charge $5,000 on a credit card at 20% interest, and you only make minimum payments of $150 a month. It will take you over 4 years to pay off that debt, and you'll pay nearly $3,000 in interest alone. That $5,000 purchase actually cost you $8,000. Now imagine instead you didn't make that purchase. You took that $150 a month and invested it for 4 years at an average return of 10% annually. You'd have over $8,000 in your account. The difference between these two scenarios is $16,000 over just 4 years. That's the cost of financing consumption with high-interest debt. Inspired by Buffett's approach to borrowing, he's been very clear, he's not afraid of debt when it's used intelligently. To acquire appreciating assets or income-generating businesses. But borrowing to consume? That's a disaster waiting to happen. Here's my rule, drawn from Buffett's principles: if you can't pay cash for it, and it's not essential, you can't afford it. Wait. Save. Then buy it outright. Your future self will thank you. And if you're already carrying high-interest debt, make eliminating it your number one financial priority. Not investing. Not saving for luxuries. Paying off that debt. Because every dollar of high-interest debt you eliminate is like earning a guaranteed 20% return on your money. Show me an investment that guarantees that, and I'll show you a liar. The third thing you must stop buying is brand new cars. And I know this one ruffles feathers, but hear me out. A new car loses approximately 20 to 30% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. In the first year alone, it can lose up to 40% of its value. Think about that. You pay $40,000 for a car today, and within 12 months, it's worth $24,000. You just lost $16,000 for the privilege of being the first owner. Now, inspired by Warren Buffett's practical nature, he's famous for driving modest cars. Not because he's cheap, but because he understands value. A car is a tool. It gets you from point A to point B. Buying new when a 2 or 3-year-old vehicle does the same job for half the price is simply poor capital allocation. Let me break down the numbers for you, because this is where it gets interesting. Suppose you buy a new car for $40,000. You finance it over 5 years at 5% interest. Your monthly payment is about $750. Over 5 years, you'll pay $45,000 total. And at the end of those 5 years, your car is worth maybe $15,000 if you're lucky. You've spent $45,000 to own something worth $15,000. Now consider the alternative. You buy a 3-year-old version of the same car for $24,000. You finance it, same terms. Your monthly payment is about $450. Over 5 years, you pay $27,000 total. At the end, your car is worth maybe $10,000. Same car. Same functionality. But the used car costs you $17,000 less over 5 years. What if you took that $17,000 difference and invested it? At 10% annual returns, compounded over 30 years, that $17,000 becomes nearly $300,000. You read that right. $300,000. That's the true cost of buying new instead of used. It's not just the sticker price. It's the opportunity cost, what that money could have grown into if you'd invested it instead. Now, I understand the appeal of a new car. The smell. The warranty. The feeling that everything is pristine. But inspired by Buffett's value philosophy, you have to ask yourself, is that feeling worth hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime? For most people, the answer should be no. A reliable used car, maintained properly, will serve you just as well. And the money you save can be put toward assets that appreciate, stocks, real estate, your own business. Things that make you wealthier, not poorer. I'll say it plainly, wealthy people don't get wealthy by buying new cars every few years. They get wealthy by making smart decisions with their capital, over and over again, for decades. The fourth thing you must stop buying is lottery tickets, gambling, and get-rich-quick schemes. And this might seem obvious, but millions of people throw away billions of dollars every year on these things. Inspired by Warren Buffett's philosophy, he's always emphasized that wealth is built slowly, through disciplined saving, intelligent investing, and the power of compound interest over time. There are no shortcuts. No magic formulas. No secret tricks. Yet people keep searching for them. They buy lottery tickets, hoping for that 1 in 300 million chance. They throw money at penny stocks, cryptocurrencies they don't understand, or multi-level marketing schemes promising easy riches. They gamble at casinos. They day trade without knowledge or discipline. And they lose. Over and over again. Let me be clear, the lottery is a tax on people who don't understand probability. The expected value of a lottery ticket is negative. For every dollar you spend, you get back maybe 50 cents on average. You are guaranteed to lose money over time. Now, someone always says, but somebody has to win. Yes. Somebody. One person out of millions. And it won't be you. The odds are so astronomically against you that you're more likely to be struck by lightning multiple times than to win a major lottery jackpot. But here's what really bothers me about this, inspired by Buffett's principles of rational thinking. It's not just the money lost on the tickets. It's the mindset. When you buy lottery tickets regularly, you're training your brain to believe that wealth comes from luck, not from discipline and effort. You're outsourcing your financial future to random chance instead of taking control of it. The same applies to get-rich-quick schemes. I've seen them all over the decades. Make $10,000 a month working from home. This one simple trick will make you a millionaire. Double your money in 30 days, guaranteed. It's all nonsense. Real wealth creation is boring. It's saving a portion of your income every month. It's investing in diversified, low-cost index funds. It's living below your means. It's compounding returns over decades. It doesn't make for exciting infomercials, but it works. Let me give you an example of the opportunity cost here. Suppose someone spends $50 a month on lottery tickets. That's $600 a year. Doesn't sound like much, right? But if you invested that $600 every year for 30 years at a 10% annual return, you'd have over $100,000. $100,000. That's the cost of chasing the fantasy of instant riches. Now, I'm not saying you can never have fun or take small risks. If you want to buy a lottery ticket for entertainment once in a while, fine. Just understand you're paying for entertainment, not investing in your future. But if you're spending meaningful amounts of money regularly on gambling or schemes, you're sabotaging yourself. Inspired by Buffett's focus on value and probability, ask yourself, would I rather have a 1 in 300 million chance at a jackpot, or a near certainty of building significant wealth through patient, disciplined investing? The answer should be obvious. The fifth and final thing you must stop buying is other people's expectations. And this might be the most important one of all. What do I mean by this? I mean buying things you don't want, with money you don't have, to impress people you don't like. This is the trap of social pressure, status anxiety, and keeping up with the Joneses. Inspired by Warren Buffett's independent thinking, he's never cared what others think about his lifestyle. He doesn't own a yacht. He doesn't collect sports cars. He doesn't live in a mansion. He does what makes sense for him, not what society expects of a billionaire. But most people aren't like that. They feel pressure to conform. To signal success. To show the world they've made it. So they buy the expensive watch they can't afford because their colleague has one. They lease the luxury car because their neighbors drive nice cars. They take lavish vacations they have to finance because everyone on social media seems to be traveling the world. They host expensive weddings or throw elaborate parties because that's what's expected. And they go broke trying to look rich. Here's a truth that took me years to fully appreciate, inspired by Buffett's wisdom: real wealth is invisible. The truly wealthy don't need to show off. They're secure enough in themselves that they don't need external validation. The person driving the 10-year-old sedan might be a millionaire. The person driving the brand new BMW might be drowning in debt. You can't tell someone's net worth by their lifestyle. In fact, the flashier the lifestyle, the more likely it is that the person is financially fragile. Let me tell you about a concept inspired by Buffett's approach: the difference between being rich and being wealthy. Being rich means having a high income and spending it all on an impressive lifestyle. Being wealthy means having substantial assets that generate income, regardless of how you live. You can be rich and broke. You can be wealthy and modest. Guess which one leads to long-term financial security? I've seen people earn $500,000 a year and live paycheck to paycheck because they spend it all on maintaining appearances. And I've seen people earn $70,000 a year and retire as millionaires because they ignored what others thought and focused on building wealth. The math is simple. If you earn $100,000 a year and spend $90,000 maintaining an impressive lifestyle, you save $10,000. If you earn $60,000 a year and spend $40,000 living modestly, you save $20,000. The person earning less is actually building wealth twice as fast. Now, here's the psychological trap. Social media has made this problem worse. Everyone posts their highlight reel, the vacation, the new car, the fancy dinner. Nobody posts their credit card statements or their anxiety about debt. So you see all these images of apparent success, and you feel pressure to match it. But it's an illusion. It's a race to the bottom, financially speaking. Inspired by Buffett's focus on inner scorecard versus outer scorecard, ask yourself, are you living your life according to your values, or according to what you think will impress others? Here's my challenge to you. For the next month, before you make any significant purchase, ask yourself, am I buying this because I truly want or need it, or because I think it will make me look successful? If it's the latter, don't buy it. Redirect that money into investments. Build your net worth quietly. And here's what will happen: in 10, 20, 30 years, while your peers who focused on looking rich are still working, stressed about money, you'll have options. You'll have freedom. You'll have peace of mind. Because true wealth isn't about what you show the world. It's about what you've built in silence. Let me bring this all together, because these 5 things are connected by a common thread, inspired by Warren Buffett's philosophy of value and discipline. First, we talked about depreciating lifestyle upgrades. Every time you increase spending to match your income, you trap yourself in a cycle where you work harder just to maintain a lifestyle that doesn't actually make you happier. Instead, keep your lifestyle stable and invest the difference. Let your wealth grow invisibly. Second, high-interest debt to finance consumption. This is wealth destruction in its purest form. You're paying 20% interest to consume today what you could buy tomorrow with cash. The opportunity cost is staggering. Eliminate this debt as fast as possible, and never go back. Third, brand new cars. They're one of the worst investments you can make. A reliable used car serves the same purpose at a fraction of the cost, and the savings, when invested, can grow into hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. Fourth, lottery tickets and get-rich-quick schemes. These aren't just bad bets. They're a mindset problem. They train you to believe wealth comes from luck instead of discipline. Stop chasing fantasies and start building real wealth through patient, consistent investing. Fifth, and perhaps most important, stop buying other people's expectations. The pressure to look successful is one of the greatest obstacles to becoming actually successful. The truly wealthy don't need to prove anything to anyone. They build in silence and live according to their own values. Now, here's the deeper lesson inspired by Buffett's approach to life and money. All 5 of these things have something in common: they're about immediate gratification at the expense of long-term wealth. Our brains are wired for the short term. We evolved to seek immediate rewards and avoid immediate pain. But wealth building requires delaying gratification. It requires saying no today so you can say yes to financial freedom tomorrow. This is hard. It goes against our instincts. That's why most people never build significant wealth, even when they earn good incomes. But here's the beautiful thing. Once you internalize these principles, once you truly understand the power of compounding and the cost of poor financial decisions, the discipline becomes easier. You start to see expensive purchases not as things you're denying yourself, but as obstacles to your freedom. That new car isn't just $40,000. It's potentially $300,000 of future wealth. That luxury vacation isn't just $10,000. It's money that could compound for decades and fund your retirement years earlier. When you see financial decisions this way, through the lens of opportunity cost and long-term impact, everything changes. Let me address some common mistakes and misconceptions, inspired by what I've learned from Buffett's teachings. Mistake number 1, people think they'll start saving and investing later, when they earn more. This is a trap. If you can't save on $60,000 a year, you won't save on $90,000 a year. Lifestyle inflation will consume the difference. Start now, no matter how small the amount. Mistake number 2, people focus on earning more instead of keeping more. Income is important, but it's not the determining factor in building wealth. Your savings rate and investment returns matter far more than your salary. A person earning $70,000 with a 40% savings rate will become wealthier than a person earning $200,000 with a 5% savings rate. Mistake number 3, people think investing is complicated and scary, so they avoid it entirely. They keep all their money in savings accounts earning 1% interest while inflation runs at 3%, losing purchasing power every year. Investing doesn't have to be complicated. Low-cost index funds, held for decades, have created more wealth for ordinary people than any other strategy in history. Mistake number 4, people lack patience. They want results now. They get frustrated when their investments don't double in a year. But inspired by Buffett's philosophy, wealth building is a marathon, not a sprint. The first $100,000 is the hardest. After that, compounding accelerates. But you have to give it time. And mistake number 5. People underestimate how powerful small decisions are when repeated over time. Spending $5 a day on coffee doesn't seem like much. But over 40 years, at 10% returns, that's over $1 million. Every small decision compounds, for better or worse. So what do you actually do with this information? How do you implement these principles, inspired by Warren Buffett's approach to wealth? First, audit your spending. Look at where your money goes every month. Identify purchases that fall into these 5 categories: lifestyle upgrades you don't need, high-interest debt, depreciating assets, gambling or schemes, and status-driven purchases. Be honest with yourself. Second, create a gap between your income and your expenses. The bigger the gap, the faster you build wealth. Aim for saving and investing at least 20% of your income. If you can do 30 or 40%, even better. If you're starting from zero, start with 5% and increase it by 1% every few months. Third, automate your savings and investments. Set up automatic transfers from your checking account to investment accounts the day after you get paid. Pay yourself first. This removes the temptation to spend that money. Fourth, invest for the long term in diversified, low-cost index funds. Don't try to pick individual stocks unless you're willing to dedicate serious time to research. Don't try to time the market. Just invest consistently, month after month, year after year, regardless of what the market is doing. Fifth, and this is crucial, change how you think about money. Stop seeing it as something to spend to feel good today. Start seeing it as a tool to buy freedom tomorrow. Every dollar you save and invest is buying you time. Time when you won't have to work. Time to spend with family. Time to pursue what matters to you. Inspired by Buffett's long-term perspective, think in decades, not days. Ask yourself, what do I want my life to look like in 20 years? And then make decisions today that align with that vision. There's one more principle I want to emphasize, drawn directly from Warren Buffett's philosophy, the power of saying no. Buffett has often said that the difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. This applies to your finances as well. Every time you say no to an unnecessary purchase, you're saying yes to your future wealth. Every time you say no to lifestyle inflation, you're saying yes to financial freedom. Every time you say no to social pressure, you're saying yes to living according to your own values. Saying no is difficult. We live in a culture that constantly tells us to say yes. Yes to more consumption. Yes to debt. Yes to keeping up with others. But that path leads to a lifetime of financial stress and limited options. The path to wealth is paved with numbers. No to the new car. No to the expensive vacation you can't afford. No to the peer pressure. No to instant gratification. And every time you say no to something that doesn't serve your long-term interests, you gain power. You gain control. You gain freedom. This isn't about deprivation. It's about prioritization. It's about choosing your future over the fleeting pleasure of impressing people who don't matter. Let me leave you with this thought, inspired by a life spent studying wealth and value. Building wealth isn't ultimately about money. It's about freedom. It's about options. It's about not having to worry when unexpected expenses arise. It's about being able to retire with dignity. It's about helping your children or causes you care about. It's about living life on your terms. The 5 things I've asked you to stop buying: depreciating lifestyle upgrades, high-interest debt for consumption, brand new cars, lottery tickets and schemes, and other people's expectations. These are the barriers between you and that freedom. Remove these barriers. Be disciplined. Be patient. Think long-term. And I promise you, if you apply these principles inspired by Warren Buffett's philosophy, if you save consistently, invest wisely, live below your means, and ignore social pressure, you will build wealth. Not overnight. Not without sacrifice. But surely and steadily, year after year, your net worth will grow. And one day, sooner than you think, you'll wake up and realize you have options. You don't have to take a job you hate. You don't have to worry about bills. You can help the people you love. You can pursue what matters to you. That's what wealth really is. Not luxury cars or fancy watches or impressing strangers. But freedom. Security. Peace of mind. And it all starts with a simple decision, to stop buying the things that make you poor, and start building the things that make you free. The choice is yours. Make it wisely.